possible.
All right, all right, all right. We are on the Life and Health Show today, and we welcome everyone to the Life and Health Show. And we have a very nice topic today, but a lot to share on the life, and we are hoping that you are ready to roll with us. And so, if you are joining us, we thank you for joining us on the Dr. Ortain's channel on YouTube, Facebook, and on TikTok, LinkedIn, and all the rest of the places. Come on, man. We are everywhere for you. We're going to be talking about hypertension as we started a few series ago. And today, we want to make sure that we hit on some of the things that we take for granted about this very bad disease. All right, so before we go on, we just want to introduce ourselves. I am Dr. Ortain, and my co-host is
Dr. Gifty Otseng.
Oh, come on, man. We are on here for you. Earlier, hypertension, the secret and late signs that are unveiled. That's what we're going to say today. We're going to tell you some of the things that we think are important as far as hypertension is concerned. All right. So with that being said, let's move on, right? Mm-hmm. You have anything else? All right. So this is the outline for what we are going to be talking about. Our outline today, we will start off with why is hypertension even a silent killer? We said it's a silent killer, and yet we are coming again to you today and talking about the fact that there are secret signs and symptoms. So aren't we confusing ourselves? You know, it's silent, and especially last weekend, Dr. Nadi was on the live. He also proved to us that it's silent. But why are we coming up now with another thing that means it may not be silent after all? All right, so we want to talk about that in a few minutes. And then from there, we hit on to the secret signs that we think there are. And then from there,
we continue with late signs and comorbid,
I think it's far away from you.
Comorbid conditions. Right. So other disease states in addition to hypertension, how we can balance that together.
All right. And then from there, we are also going to go to some of the lifestyle changes that we can do to help us be able to overcome this disease, or if not even overcome, at least manage it into safer levels where we can live with it. And then also we'll go to how to actually catch it. If it's secret, how are you going to catch it? And, you know, people who are secret, they are hard to catch, but we're going to show you how to catch the secret things of hypertension. And then from there,
then we read your comments, and if you have any questions, we can help you answer them, and we will discuss what is coming up for next week.
All right. And then that is the sum of our show. So let's move on, and we will start off with the signs. Are there signs if we say it is a secret? Are there signs for hypertension if we're saying it's a secret? And we're saying it's a silent killer. Are there signs? Why are we saying that? The confusion basically is what we want to break down. And yes, let me start off, right?
Yeah,
so what we mean by signs and also saying it's a silent killer is that most of the signs or symptoms of hypertension may not be that obvious because they are non-specific. To be short, what that means is that they are not only related to hypertension. And so you may have some of the signs we are going to go through that may be also symptomatic for other diseases. You know, the signs of hypertension, but also those same signs are also signs for other diseases, say asthma or something like that. And so that is one reason why we say it's a silent killer, but definitely there may be some signs that we cannot tell or just see and plainly that this is for hypertension. Kind of like when you have other disease states that you can just measure a symptom and know for a fact that this is what it is. For hypertension, the signs that are associated with it may not be just for hypertension. And because of that, we usually miss it. And that is where its silence come about. So I hope we have diffused that confusion there a little bit. You have anything else?
Yeah, so in other words, we can say that it's not exclusive. The signs and the symptoms may not be exclusively for hypertension. It may be for other diseases. So if you are not careful to be able to differentiate the two, then you will get it lost. That it may be a sign that you are having high blood pressure. But because it's not exclusive to hypertension, we may not be sure. So that's what we are going to delve into a little bit.
Exactly. That's a good point you make there. It's not exclusive, non-specific, and not exclusive. So the signs of hypertension may also be signs for something else. Definitely. And that is why we don't want you to dwell on the signs alone to say that, oh, I don't have hypertension. Because the signs that we may say may not be necessarily related to only hypertension. And so you may see it in another disease state and or something that is not even disease, but you see some signs and you ignore it because it's not only exclusive, like she said, to hypertension. But at least if we can tell you some of the things that we know are associated with hypertension, then when you see those things, you can judge for yourself what to do. You probably would just see your doctor or get your blood pressure checked or something, at least to rule out hypertension, knowing all the bad things that hypertension can cause. So that is what we are going to try to accomplish on the live right now. Now, with that being said, we will go to the next slide. I think we have exhausted that enough, right? So the next slide then is we are actually starting the science itself, the signs themselves. So the secret signs of hypertension. We made these groups ourselves. So it may not be in any literature out there. If you go and Google and say secret signs of hypertension, you may not see this. We are making this up because of our understanding of what our experience in our practice is concerned. So there may not be any books that say secret science, this is what it is. But this is what we at least agree them to be. They may be different if you Google or if you ask your doctor, they may say something else. And they may not be secret at all because everybody is different. But for this show, at least, let's look at these few signs that we're going to talk about as the secret signs of hypertension. And the first one is mild headaches. Mild headaches. So go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So I think this is one of the most common things that people mention when they say they have hypertension. Headaches. Those usually people who say that they see it's as severe headaches, but you may have mild headaches which you may easily ignore and take perhaps Tylenol or paracetamol, depending on where you're watching this from, and just ignore it because this is just mild headache. You probably get that headache because of you are constipated, maybe because you are tired, you got a headache, or maybe because you ate something that you didn't like, you got that headache, and so you ignore it. This may be a secret sign of hypertension. And that is what we want to draw your attention to. So you don't just self-diagnose your headaches and stay home thinking that it is something minor. That is what I think it is about. You have anything to add to that?
So I think what I would like to add is, high blood pressure is something that develops slowly over a period of time. It's not like boom and you have high blood pressure. It goes slowly and it sneak up on you. That's why we say it's a silent killer. So you may be having this condition, mild headache, and you tell yourself that, oh, whenever I get tired, I have headaches. Then you may lie down or you may take Tylenol, you rest, and it goes away. So the symptoms come quietly and you feel like you are not well. You feel like you have this headache. That can be a sign. But it could be other condition. Something else is going. Maybe you're truly tired. That's why you're having that mild headache. But it's something that can alert you if your basal, like that you normally don't get headache. But whenever you're stressed and tired, you feel a little headache coming in. That can be a sign that, oh, let me monitor or let me take a peek at my the levels of my
Blood
pressure. so that will help you decide whether it's sneaking up on you or not.
All right, all right. So definitely make sure that you do not ignore any signs of headache just because it is the usual thing that you feel. Because especially if you have the risk factors, you are of age, when I say you're of age, you are in the 30s, 40s, and above. If you are in the 50s and 60s, as for you, you are already there. And so
You're already there.
you're already there. Your age, we don't even have to ask about it because that's the age group that is notorious for those for hypertension. So, but earlier ages, you still have to check because we are hearing of people going too soon who are even in their 30s. And so when you have, mild headaches, make sure you check it out. Don't just self-diagnose and then ignore it because that may be your sign from God that, hey, check this out because it can lead up to something very serious. And that is what we want to make sure that you are aware of. So, yes, headaches, mild headaches in particular, may be something that can creep up on you, and you probably wouldn't know that it is hypertension habit. So
and maybe the frequency too.
And the frequency too. You took some pain medicine, it went away, but then it came back. After a few hours, you really rested, you slept, and then you got better, but then it came back again. So that should tell you that something is up. And sometimes the blood pressure also goes up and down during the day. It won't stay the same. So if your pressure is high in the morning, for instance, you may have a headache. And once it goes down, your headache may be gone. And you will just like, as for me, I have headaches every morning. And so you live with it. No, don't live with it. It may be a sign of hypertension. But again, that being said, it is not that exclusive to hypertension. We just want to make sure that we bring that to you so that you don't just self-diagnose and stay home and get things worse in the future. So that is the whole point of the show, is to alert you to the things that may be secret and yet happening in your body, which you can stop right away with treatment. Right. So with that being said, we can go forward. We can go to the next one. And the next secret sign of hypertension that we put up here is fatigue and dizziness. Fatigue and dizziness. And if I will start, yeah. So if you are hypertensive, there may be a chance that you get fatigued. You may have fatigue. You may just easily get tired. Any small thing, you get tired. You are climbing up the stairs in your house and you can't even climb it up straight up. You have to stop in the middle of the stairway and then catch your breath, or maybe sit down when you're walking. Journeys that you could walk easily without stopping. All of a sudden, you have to stop. In the middle of the way. Few movements here and there, and you are so tired. You go to work and you come back, and it's like you've worked the whole week, in one day. Check that out. Those are also secret signs of hypertension. Secret signs of hypertension. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah,
Come back
and
to
with the dizziness too, you feel like you feel dizzy. You have dizzy spells here and there throughout the day. It can be also a sign that you have to look into. You walk a little bit, and sometimes you are not stable. You feel like you are very dizzy.
And lightheaded too.
Lightheaded.
Right? You could get lightheaded.
Right.
It's like something is moving, spinning, and then it goes away. And sometimes too, you just sit up and quickly, and you're like blacking out, or you sit down quickly and you're blacking out, which could be another opposite sign of hypertension. If you are hypotensive, if your blood pressure is very low, you could also have those lightheadedness and dizzy spells too. But the only way to tell is to have yourself checked. You can't just stay home and say that, oh, I think this one was due to low pressure and that one was due to high. How you know? You can't tell. So the key is to get yourself checked because you never know what that sign is leading to. And of course, this is, again, like Gifty said, non-exclusive to hypertension. It could also be a sign of another disease. You could just be having dizzy spells, neurological conditions that you may have something going on in your brain that is leading to dizziness. That could also be the reason. But in order not to stay home and get your heart getting bigger and bigger because of your hypertension, or getting your kidneys or any other organs destroyed because of hypertension, when you see those things, you have to get yourself checked. That way you can rule out hypertension because of the bad things that can occur. If you remember what we did last week. So dizzy spells and fatigue are things that should not be accepted or tolerated as a part of life. If I mean, it's normal if you worked extra one day, you really did work and you are tired, that's normal. But to be exhausted almost every other day or the entire week, it's like you have no break, you're always exhausted. Get yourself checked. What is going on here? If it's not hypertension and if it's something else, praise God, you found out and you can fix it. But then you don't stay home and say that, as for me, this is how I've been. No, you come on, man. You can't be like that. You cannot be like that all the time. There's got to be something going on. And the only way to find out is to get yourself checked. And so that is the whole point of the show. You want to add anything to that? We're good, right? All right. So we will move forward then. And the next one that I think we have here is the secret sign of chest pain and palpitations. Chest pain and palpitations. And with that, what we mean is that hypertension can make you have chest pain, tightness, chest tightness. It's like, and this is also upon exertion. In other words, when you do hard work, when you work harder, or when you are doing something a little more strenuous than normal, this is what happens. Your heart begins to beat faster, and then also you feel some chest pain. This is also potentially something coming from hypertension. And if you do not get it checked out, again, you will continue to progress in hypertension, and you will find out what will happen as we move forward with late hypertension signs. You take that.
Yeah, and also if you truly have high blood pressure and you're experiencing the symptoms, it's because your heart is working harder. It's working extra harder because of the high blood pressure. So as it works harder, you can feel the chest pain and you can feel the palpitation going on. So that can be a little closer when you have the symptoms of having high blood pressure, because it means that your heart is stretched and is working harder, and that's why you are feeling the pain and the palpitation.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. That is very, very true. If your heart is working strenuously harder to work against the pressure that is high, then it will cry. And the cry is the pain. My goodness. Your heart is crying, and the cry, the only way our body communicates with us is pain. It tells your brain, tell them I'm hurting, and then you feel it. And so sometimes you will feel those chest pains that go away. It may not last for a long time, but upon exertion, they come back. You run a little bit, and then your chest, you cannot do anything, but you hold your chest and you feel like there's something happening in your chest. Your heart is crying because it is being made to work against a greater pressure that is not built for it to handle. And so it cries out for that reason. And also, the palpitations. I think Dr. Nade also even mentioned it. It can even progress to what we call atrial fibrillation, which basically means your heart quivers. Your ventricles, they pump and then they stop. In other words, they just keep pumping, but not in a synchronized way. It's like pum pum pa pum pum pa. And then when something like that happens, you are retaining blood in your ventricles, and what may happen is a clot may be formed, and that can be pushed out to your brain to cause a major stroke. So when we hear somebody gone too soon, ask them, did they have hypertension? Did they had something that could have led to an imminent stroke? That is probably what happened. Don't just blame anybody. Come on, man. It is that is happening. And so we have to be very careful about such signs, subtle, but important signs that we can actually try and avoid. Because if you don't, they will catch up to you eventually. As we move forward, we're going to see later signs which may be too late. But if you can catch this sooner once and then deal with them, you probably will be on your best bet.
And I think as human as we are and as busy as we are very quick to ignore certain signs. So our bodies have a way of letting us know that it's not that all right in there, or we are not doing well in there. But because we are so busy and this, like, we are at a fast pace, every day we have to get up, We have to go. We have to do this. We have to pick up the kids. We have to drop them off. We have to go grocery. We have to cook. We have to do all that. We have a lot going on in our lives. And we are constantly at a run. We are always running. So if we are not careful, we are going to ignore these signs that our body is trying to tell us that there is slow down.
Slow down.
Do something else. Something is going on. But because we gotta go, we tend to ignore. So we are trying to encourage you that just pay attention. Your body has a way. I think last week we had that our bodies are such that we are able to adapt
a little bit, yeah,
to situation. You know that, oh, when I get tired, I just sleep and I wake up and I'm fine. I take Tylenol and I'm okay. In other words, the body is telling you something that, oh, pay attention. Something is happening.
Something is happening.
Something is happening. So we have to be careful. And when these signs start creeping in, or we start feeling something that is not normal with us, if we ignore it, our bodies are such that it will adapt. It will adapt to the situation. Then you are able to handle it. But if you keep ignoring it, it will get to the point that it will be
you cannot ignore it anymore. Come on, man. You cannot ignore it forever.
So we have to be really careful with these signs that we are talking about.
That's very, very important. But one of the most important things that we could tell you is that, so you had some headache and you blew it off, your body adjusted. Maybe you don't even get that headache anymore. It doesn't mean that hypertension is gone. You have found a way to cope. Maybe a little more arteries have been opened up, so the pressure has gone down a little bit, but it's not over yet. So the fact that your body is adapting doesn't mean you should ignore these signs, because they will catch up. As we move forward, we will actually come to some of them. But before we move forward, I think there is a comment that we can share here. Apostle Cecilia is saying that, thank you very much. Oh, thank you also for joining us, commenting. Thank you so much. And if you are watching and you have any comments, please put it up, especially if you have a question about any of the things that we mentioned here. We will try, at least attempt to answer them if it's something that we can do. If we cannot, we can refer to other experts in the area who can also give us the answer, and we'll put it up on the chat for you to know. And we also have another comment from Brother Ben. Long time, Brother Ben. We haven't got you on live for a long time. And I hope you've been watching. We just don't see your comments. Brother Ben says, good job. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we will move forward. I think we have more points to talk on the signs of hypertension, right? All right. So the next one then after that is the secret sign of blurry or double vision. Blurry or double vision. And I think, again, Dr. Nate also alluded to this last week when we talked about it, that prolonged and untreated hypertension will eventually damage your retina or your eye. The blood vessels in your retina, the blood vessels in your eye, for sure, that will lead to eventual vision loss if not taken care of. So if you have the mild sign of double vision, one time you have double vision or blurry vision, you don't see clearly, it's like fuzzies, there's something wrong, and then it may even resolve. It may not be permanent. That is, or potentially that may be from hypertension. And so you got to make sure that you get that checked out, because how can you tell if it is from hypertension? And even if it's not from hypertension, it could be from diabetes, both of which are bad. Come on, man. Both of which are very serious stuff to deal with. And so blurry vision and a double vision become another secret sign of hypertension. And we also want to be careful to tell you that not everybody that has hypertension will have any of these signs. Some of people may not even have it at all. As a matter of fact, all these signs are signs that show up after you've had hypertension for a long time. So if you are waiting to get blurry vision before you check your blood pressure, too late, man. Come on. Too late. Because by the time you get these signs, you may have had the pressure over potentially even years. This is when the destructive part of hypertension have actually been set on. But before that, before you saw this, you were hypertensive. That's why we say that it is a silent killer. We are just bringing these signs for people who don't know and have been living with hypertension, thinking that, oh, I'm not sick. No, you may be sick if if you saw some of these signs. Have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and some people may have blackouts
You may
once in
just
a
black out
while.
once in a while.
You know, they wake up and all of a sudden everything goes dark. You know, that can be another sign.
Another sign.
You don't want to ignore that. You know, you have to follow up with your doctor and know where you are when it comes to high blood pressure.
My goodness. And the other thing is that sometimes you may even know that you have hypertension, you are treating your hypertension all right, but some of these signs may show up. That's also a sign that you may not be well controlled. So, oh, I'm taking medication, but I still have these things. Then definitely see your doctor, because it means that your pressure, though you know you have a pressure, it's not fully controlled. That is why you're having these blurry double vision that you have. And then also remember, like Gifty said, it's not exclusive to hypertension. It could be for something else. But the key is you got to get yourself checked out. Make sure that you can rule out hypertension, knowing some of the serious things that could happen if you left it alone. All right. And I think there's a question on the live again. See if I can put this on here too. Apostle says, can hypertension be treated? Can hypertension be treated? That's a good question. I like that. Can hypertension be treated? And I don't know if you want to take that. All right. So hypertension can be treated. I'm not sure if she actually meant can it be cured? Can it be completely removed? But definitely it can be treated. I mean, all that we're saying is that get yourself seen so that when you are found to be hypertensive, or if you are found to have high blood pressure, it can be managed. Yes, it can be treated, and there are 1,001 medications. There's so many medications because this is, I don't know if I can say it's one of the oldest disease states that we know of, because it's been with people for a long time. Every now and then a new medication comes out. So there's a ton of medications, including some medications that have been put together, So we put a water pill and another one that we call calcium channel blocker together, and then it makes one pill. But you're taking one pill, but in actuality, it's two meds. So there's a ton of medications that we can use to treat hypertension to make sure that you can actually feel better. And I think she clarified her question. Let's see if we could put that up. Yes, her question is, can it be cured? And that's a good question. My goodness. Can hypertension be cured? And you want me to take that? Yeah. So hypertension can be cured. I'll use this as my son would do, quote and unquote, can be cured, depending on how soon you find out and how much it is related to your genes. If you do not have a genetically predisposed hypertension, or you do not have genes that make you have hypertension, then it could be cured if you found out early enough and you follow certain rules that your doctor tells you to follow. You may potentially come off medication if your pressure is controlled without medication. For example, I will use myself as an example. Some years ago, when I saw my doctor and my pressure was creeping up, the first thing he told me was that my pressure is not high enough, but if I can lose 10 pounds, Yehovah, 10 pounds.
From where?
From where? That's why I said that. If I could lose 10 pounds, as a skinny guy that I am, lose 10 pounds, it will correlate to about 5 points of blood pressure loss. The systolic blood pressure can go down by 5 if I lost 10 pounds. So if I was like 120 or 135 and I lose 10 pounds, the 5 may go and I may not need medication, so I'm cured. So that is where the curing factor comes in. So yes, it could be cured if you're able to do some of the things that you have to do. Lose weight, drastic weight as much as possible, because every 10-pound weight loss would lead to a corresponding loss in your blood pressure level. You lose the weight, you become like me, and then also you do your exercise. Make sure that you exercise consistently and make sure that you are eating right, taking away all those processed foods and meats and salt in particular. Your pressure can go down naturally in that state. And if it comes down, your doctor will take you off your medication. So in that case, you would say you are cured. But that doesn't mean you don't see your doctor anymore. It still means that you have to be monitored every year at least to see that it's not creeping up again. And so that is what I would say. But for some people, I think Dr. Nade also alluded to that last week. For some people, they will do all those things. They will lose the weight, all right. They will do the exercise, consistent exercises, including brisk aerobic exercises, weight loss. I mean, weight lifting, and all those. They would also eat right. They will have their stress gone down. Everything in the book they did, and still their pressure cannot come down. Those people are the people who we term genetically involved hypertension. Those people, they have genes that is controlling the amount of salt they keep. So their pressure will continue to be high regardless. So in that case, it would not be cured. So if somebody sells you a medicine and they say that this will remove hypertension tatahwe, come on. Whatever that means, then look at them with two faces because it may not be the fact. And this actually brings me, that's a good segue into what I found. I was watching TikTok. It's interesting, a lot of people hosting shows on TikTok. In fact, it's challenging us to actually probably do some interactive hosts and answer people's questions. Where people with hypertension, some of them living abroad from the United States, where we are, others living in the European Union, calling in and asking this moderator to bring them some leaves to as an adjunct to their blood pressure medications. And some of them, it sounds like they trust that more than the conventional medicine. I'm like, if your medication is not bringing your pressure enough, the first thing you should do is to talk to your doctor, not to ask for. And I was asking my wife the name of that leaf. I think we agree it was basil.
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 Yeah, kukumesa.
Basil is what this lady was recommending. Oh, I'll pack some basil and ship it to you in Germany or in the US or wherever. You don't want to do that, people. We don't do that. See your doctor. If your pressure is not managed well, please talk to your doctor and make sure that you are given the right medication. Because as we say, we are. If I cannot say more than, I don't want to say 100,000, but more than thousands of medications just for hypertension. And so if something is not working, don't shift your attention on some natural thing that you can find out there. Just make sure that you have lost your weight. That's the first key. Have you lost weight? And are you eating right? Are you exercising? If you can do all those three things and still is up, then talk to your doctor. Don't go and try and find out some leaves somewhere, some back leaves that people recommend. Trust me, they will not do anything. They will only serve to hurt you. Why? Because they have not been tested. I'm not saying they don't work, they may work, but the dosages have not been quantified. They have not been sent to the lab to check on your liver, what they will do to your liver, what they will do to your kidneys, like conventional medicine. If we talk about hydrochlorothiazide or atenolol or any of those conventional medications for blood pressure, those medications have been used years and years, and we know what will happen as far as side effects are concerned. Not that we know, but they have been studied before they were approved and called to be antihypertensives or hypertension medications. They were put to the test. People were studied with it. Those basils that you're using, which pharmaceutical company spent time to do that research? They didn't do it. It worked for one person, and that one person is selling it out and saying that it works for hypertension. It may, but what about the toxic effects that are associated with it? Nobody checked those things. Your kidney may be going, or your liver may be going, even if you get any sort of control with your blood pressure. So please don't do that. Stick to your conventional medicine. If it is not working, ask your doc. Say, doc, I'm taking this medicine. This pressure is still kind of high. What can you do? They either switch something around or add something to it. And trust me, if you do your part, your weight loss, your diet, avoiding those things that we are going to talk to you about, and you also try to reduce your stress, it will go down eventually. You don't need to call anybody for leaves from another country to be shipped to you, because we want your safety. We want you to be there at the end of the day when your pressure is down, when the pressure comes down. So that is a good question that Apostle brought up, and I want to say thank you so much. All
And
right.
to add to what, I think last week we also talked about the fact that if it's not controlled, if you're not able to control it, then it's likely that there may be something else going on. There may be a secondary factor, something else other than just controlling the blood pressure. Something else is making your blood pressure go up. So that's why it's very important that you have to talk to your doctor. After you've done it all, you're losing weight, you are taking your medication. And I think last week he also mentioned that some people don't take it.
You don't
That's
even take
why
it.
it's not controlled. So they keep missing doses and they claim that it doesn't work. Meanwhile, they are missing almost 50% time they are not taking their medication. They are not consistent in taking their medication. So just stick to what you've been given, monitor the levels, and do all the right things. If it's still not controlled, talk to your doctor instead of getting a supplement that may interact with the medication that you are even taking. That can be a risk to some of your organs. So it's very important that
very
you
important.
follow up with your doctor.
Very important. Very important. We cannot stress this enough. And if you are watching, especially on TikTok, and you're saying you are destroying somebody's business, I'm not about destroying business. In fact, when I saw this, I was on there that I could have said something, but I just held my peace. I was just troubled by what I was hearing, that people are calling in just for natural remedies when they are sitting. I'm talking about living in the USA, living in the European Union, where better else to get hypertension control than to call somewhere for leaves. And it doesn't matter where you live, to be honest with you, because hypertension medications are everywhere because of the fact that it's been an old disease. We have those medications and they are cheap. Even in third world countries, you can find them cheap. And so wherever you are, regardless, if you want to control it, trust me, you can do it. You can do it. You just have to stick to the plan with your doctor, lose your weight, eat right, and make sure you do the medication. And even if you can lose your weight and eat right, still get your doctor to prescribe it to you, because it's better that way than say, oh, I can't do anything, so I just do it. No. You got to do something about it because of the things that we will see as we move forward. Can we move forward? All right. And so this is one of the things we see, late signs of hypertension. When you see these things, it means that's where you've had hypertension probably for more than a year or two. No, you have had hypertension for a long time. Severe. Now you have graduated from mild headaches onto severe headaches. And I was talking to a brother, I should say, that was telling me they found out their pressure was going up because they were getting these severe headaches. And so I asked him, how high was your pressure when he checked at that point? And he said it was 172 systolic. So which means that when it was probably 150 or 160, he didn't have the headache. He didn't have the severe headache. So if you're waiting to see severe headache before you go check it, guess what? Before the severe headache, other things will be happening. Your kidneys, all those things will be going. Your heart may be maturing already because it's been beaten against this high pressure. And so these are some of the late signs. If you are seeing these and you are taking antihypertensive medications, make sure that your pressure is under control because it's still not controlled yet. That's why you are getting these headaches. But definitely get it checked if you are having unexplained severe headaches. You don't have migraines. You are not somebody who has cluster headaches or of any sort. You just come up randomly with severe headaches. Some people know that is their sign that their pressure is going up. As a matter of fact, it is better not to have that sign, because if you are seeing it as a sign, it means your pressure is not controlled. It has to be controlled to the extent that you don't even get to the place where you have headaches. What can happen when you have headaches is you can burst open an artery in your brain, and that's a stroke right there. It means it's so high that you are feeling those symptoms in your brain. So you can have an aneurysm, you can have a clot in your brain, and that is when they say gone too soon, and nobody knows. It's like, oh, he was young, she was very young. That has been going on, but probably ignored for some time. And so don't wait for those things to happen. And like we said, the body adapts. It will show you severe headache. Take care of it, and you ignore it. Take some paracetamol, some Tylenol, some Advil, some Motrin, ibuprofen, and you I'm fine. I took something, I'm fine. And it comes again, I took something, I'm fine. No. It's not supposed to be like that. You got to get things down as soon as you see it. And of course, it's not only from hypertension, but just so you don't end up with a stroke because of an uncontrolled high blood pressure.
And sometimes too, the headaches are such that nothing works. At this point, you will take Tylenol, you will take paracetamol, you will take Excedrin, you take every tension headaches, whatever out there, and you feel like it's still persistent. It doesn't go away. And that could be because we know some people say that when I have severe headaches, then it means that my blood pressure is high, you know. So that can be that because you are not controlling your blood pressure, the headaches may be so severe that nothing works for you.
Definitely. And the other thing is sometimes too, your pain medicine may work for some time, but the headache will come back. So you take Tylenol and the headache goes away. Oh, I'm fine. Or you sleep and it goes away. You're fine. But then it will come back later. And even if it doesn't come back, because you didn't treat the hypertension, it's still lingering. That symptom is gone, but it is still hurting your body somewhere else. And so that is why we need to be very careful with the symptoms of any kind when we see stuff going on, especially when it becomes repetitive. It comes today and it comes tomorrow. 2 days later, it comes back. Something is up. You know, we got to definitely take care of it and make sure that we are not hypertensive. All right, and that's the next thing then we go to. So we are in the severe signs now. And the next thing then we go to a shortness of breath, and this also happens, kind of like a cousin to what we said, chest pains and palpitations. This is graduating towards shortness of breath. So now you are not just having chest pains when you are climbing up your flight of stairs at home, or when you are walking, or when you are arguing, or when you're doing anything. This time it's graduating to a place where you can't even catch your breath, or you are short of breath. You can't breathe right. You have breathing difficulty. That is also a sign of perhaps an uncontrolled high blood pressure. And you don't want to ignore it, because if you ignore it, tell you what, it's going to come back big time with something else. And so you don't ignore shortness of breath. Now, to be honest, you can have shortness of breath if you are asthmatic, if you have COPD, or if you have emphysema, if you have any of those chronic lung diseases, you may have shortness of breath, and if you have that disease. But if you don't have that disease, you don't have asthma, you don't have COPD, you don't have emphysema or any of the lung-related diseases, and yet you are frequently short of breath, especially when you attempt to do something a little more strenuous, then check your blood pressure or talk to your doctor or see your doctor as soon as possible, because it may be something related to your cardiovascular health, and you don't want to just ignore that.
And also, this happens because your heart struggles to pump the blood into your organs,
especially to your lungs, to get
because
more oxygen.
It's struggling to pump, and because you are exerting pressure on yourself, maybe you are running, you are doing something more extraneous, so your heart struggles because of the high blood pressure, and that leads to the shortness of breath. So definitely it's something that you have to pay attention to.
You have to definitely pay attention to that one. And the next one, we want to power through them quickly. The next late sign is kidney damage or blood in the urine. So it may not be completely seen or apparent to you when you are peeing that there's blood in your urine. But if the doctor or your nurse practitioner were to collect a sample of blood and analyze it, they may find out that there's protein in the blood. There's albumins. There's protein in the urine. Excuse me. There's protein in the urine. There's albumin in the urine. Or to be, for the layman, there is blood in the urine. Or you may actually see when you pee that there's blood in it. That's obvious. That's completely obvious. That is a sign that you probably have a damaged kidney from an uncontrolled high blood pressure. And we don't want you to get that far. That's a late sign. If you see that, then things are actually getting really serious here, because some of the things that you may damage now may be irreversible. You may not be able to come back to a completely renewed kidneys anymore, all because you ignored a little blood pressure, which you could have attacked easily, if you got yourself checked. And so that is another late but serious sign of uncontrolled hypertension or blood pressure.
So last time we talked about the organs that are affected when your blood pressure is not well controlled. And we mentioned that the first organ that get hit is the kidneys. So definitely if your blood pressure is not controlled, definitely it's going to affect the kidneys. That's the first organ that goes. So when you see that your urine is not clear, it's not that clear, you know that there is definitely something up with your kidneys. But you don't want to wait till you get there.
You don't want to wait.
You don't
You
want
may
to
not
wait.
even be able to tell. If you pee and it's there, how you tell? Especially, you pee and this, use WC, there's water in there, your pee out and it's dilute. You can't tell that there was blood in there. You cannot. And if there's proteins, you definitely cannot see protein in your urine. It has to be analyzed by the lab. And the only time they do that is if you complain about kidney damage to all the acute kidney problems that you may have. That is when the doctor may order or chronic kidney problems. That's when the doctor may order some labs to confirm what is going on. So you don't want to wait and say that, oh, I haven't seen any redness in my pee or my pee is clear. No, please don't. You definitely just have to make sure that you don't even get there, because when you get there, it's too late. It's too late. And we don't want that to happen. All right, so move on to the next one. All right, so the next thing on our slide. So those were some of the few late signs that we wanted to hit on. There's more, of course. We know that you could get cognitive impairment, you could lose your memory, you could be able to have you could have stroke and all those things. Those are like on never caught it. It just happened. Boom, you have a stroke and you are gone. Gone too soon, as we say. Or you have a heart attack and boom, you are gone. Nobody knows what happened. Oh, they went to bed. Oh, yesterday I was just talking to him, as we do. Oh, just yesterday. Oh, just last week. They're gone. Something happened, probably a heart attack. But for some of us, we don't even have time for postmortem. And even if they do, they don't even tell us what happened to that folk. We just say gone too soon and we make nice, beautiful flyers and we attend the funeral and you're gone. We don't want that to happen to you. And so what you got to do is to take care of yourself by making sure you are following through some of the things that we talk about here. So other disease conditions that may actually confound the problems of hypertension is what we are going to talk about. There are some of the other disease conditions, and I think diabetes is an obvious one, right? If you have diabetes, you even confound or compound, I should say, the signs of hypertension, and you may completely not even know that you have hypertension, because already uncontrolled diabetes can lead to kidney disease, and so kidney disease from diabetes potentially may mask your blood pressure also going high. And so your doctor may tell you that your kidneys, you have to watch out because you have diabetes, your sugars and stuff like that. And if you don't take care of your blood pressure too, that will also compound it. So you lose your kidneys quicker than anybody else. So you have to make sure that you are looking for all the other chronic disease states that can affect your blood pressure. And another one that can also compound is
so if you are obese, and you can't run every little walk you take the stairs, you do something and you feel so tired, and sometimes you have shortness of breath, you can say that because you are heavy, that's why you are not able to do certain things. But it could be that because your blood pressure is high, that's why you are not able to do certain things easily. So being obese and having high blood pressure may tend to mask the signs more so, because you think that is this, but for all that you know is the high blood pressure, and you may not able to detect that because you are obese.
My goodness. That is sad, And so the way to go about it is to try and lose weight. We don't speak like you cannot do anything or we are condemning anybody. What we are saying is that the first key is to know who you are. First key is to know what problems you have, and that is, I would say, even 50%. Some people don't even admit that they are overweight, and so if you tell them to lose weight, it's like, no, I'm not overweight. Well, you are, according to the scale, you are. And so if you accept who you are and make the minor changes, you are not only decreasing, your odds of getting diabetes, you're also decreasing the odds of getting hypertension. And so it's a win-win situation in that case. And so that is something important that we can talk about. And I think there's another thing that we also put there. So if you have asthma too, the asthma can also compound or confound these symptoms. If you have asthma
COPD.
and you are having you have COPD or emphysema, you can also have some of these signs and symptoms. You run and you are so tired, your chest tightness, chest pain can happen because of your asthma or your other lung disease that you may have. So they will all confound or confuse, I should say, the signs of hypertension. So you don't neglect them just because you have asthma and every little chest tightness, you blame it on your asthma. What if hypertension is creeping in too? And so make sure that you treat all those signs as seriously as possible. And the next thing that we want to talk about is we didn't just want to say all those signs and just leave you with it. At least since we're here, we have to provide some solutions, right? And our solution that we are bringing is, as simple as diet and exercise. Hypertension lifestyle is to definitely look at your diet and also to exercise. Just as simple as that. Most of the problems we have may go down if we begin to have a lifestyle change that includes dieting and exercising. And Gifty made a wonderful statement some time ago about dieting. When you say diet, people think that you're going to be starving. No, 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 no. It's not starvation. Dieting basically means choosing the right kinds of foods to eat. You'll still be full, but you're not eating junk to fill you up. And if you eat the right foods, you are most likely not going to get hypertensive. Unless you have the genes for hypertension, then of course you still get hypertension. But in that case, that's where medications are. You just use the medications to treat them. And of course, diet and exercise will help other disease states too. It may prevent you from getting diabetes. And so this is something that we want to recommend to everybody, whether you're already taking prescription medications for hypertension or not. You still have to definitely have diet and exercise as your lifestyle. And there's another thing. You want to say anything?
Yeah, and with the diets, I think high blood pressure, we have to cut down salt.
I think that's right. Okay. No, go ahead.
We have to cut down salt. So if you are able to control the amount of salt, sodium that you take in, then it's likely that you are going to lower your hypertension. And also processed food, right? We know that they process the food and add excess sodium in order to keep it on the shelf for longer time. So it means that if you are taking the processed foods, then it's likely that you are increasing your sodium intake. And increasing your sodium intake will definitely increase your pressure. So diet is just adjusting the foods that you take, the choices of foods that you put together to make a meal, to a point that you avoid the processed foods. You try to stay with the natural foods and still eat and avoid the fast foods and the salty foods, and definitely you'll be able to control your high blood pressure.
That's a good one. My goodness. Avoid processing and avoid processed foods. Definitely, you have to avoid processed foods. If you don't avoid processed foods, I don't know how you can keep your pressure down because they are full of salt. I mean, the one we are showing online now, it's, in our presentation now, it's what? Fries, fried chicken, this burger with a crispy chicken. Everything is fried. And the fries is what? Salty, sodium. I mean, if you want to get hypertension, this is what you have to eat. Yeah, I mean, just eat this continuously for about 5 months. I'm telling you straight up, you're going to have hypertension. This is how to get hypertension. So if you don't want to get hypertension, you remove these foods from your meal. And we may be showing just this, but you know the kinds of fast foods you eat. Your pizzas, very very fatty meals that you eat, other starchy foods that you consume. Starch is the order of the day. You are gaining weight from the starch. And sugary foods too, processed ones, all those add up to make you have hypertension. And if you have hypertension already, if you can avoid these, you may eventually, like our apostle said, get cured if you can completely eliminate some of those things, especially if you don't have the genes for it. All right. And I think there's another thing that we wanted to talk about. Apart from going down on your sodium, the other thing you have to do is to increase your potassium. So sodium down, you read labels and make sure that whatever you are eating has a minimal sodium. Then you use what? Potassium. Potassium increases your chance of reducing sodium which causes water retention and obviously hypertension. So if you want to have low blood pressure, increase your intake of foods that have potassium. You can use potassium salt instead of sodium salt, potassium substitute as your salt, just to make sure that you reduce your sodium levels and increase your potassium. And this food we're showing is avocados. Avocados are rich in potassium, as well as spinach, green spinach. So if you include those green things, you are definitely going to increase your potassium and cut back on the sodium. And I think there is a question that is on the live, and the question is, should we avoid them cheese? Should we avoid cheese? Literally, is the question. How about cheese? Should we avoid cheese? And I would say, for me, I would say avoid it unless you can definitely go for cheese that are of organic sources and that are healthy sources of cheese. But ultimately, because we are trying to lose weight, if you have cheese increases in your diet, though you may get it from the right source, you may still have a difficult time lowering your weight. And if you have higher weight, you actually defeat the purpose of losing blood pressure. So I would say if you can, then avoid it. But if you have to, just make sure that they are not the processed kind of cheese that are already plastic, or the source. Look at the source of the cheese that you're getting to make sure it's non-processed. Natural sources of cheese would be okay. But again, at moderation levels so that you do not gain too much weight on that. And I can tell you, at some point when I wanted to gain weight, I remember at some point I was like, I'm a man, I got to gain weight. You know what my doctor told me? Eat a lot of cheese. And so that means that if you want to gain weight, you eat cheese. If you don't want to gain weight, you do what? You don't eat cheese. Exactly. And since we know gaining weight is, equivalent to gaining high blood pressure, I would definitely avoid it if at all possible, just to make sure that I don't increase, because it's a lot of energy in the unit of cheese that you eat, and that's good. Right.
And also, when you are choosing the kind of cheese, you can read the label. Some of
Yeah.
them has a high content of sodium.
If you have to eat it, yes.
Yes.
Let's make sure that the sodium
The
content
sodium is as low as possible, because the sodium will definitely spike your pressure.
your pressure. And of course, if it's processed, that's the sodium right
And
there.
they have to put a lot.
You have to put the sodium so it doesn't go bad quick. It can stay on the shelf, so you can beat it. So avoiding it is in this case your best bet. And I think if we do, let's see if there's any more that we wanted to add. Okay, so before closing, I think there was one more thing that I wanted to say. So catch HBP. In order for you to realize whether or not you are hypertensive, the signs that we have said, again, are non-exclusive. They may not even show up at all. I can tell you somebody is watching and they can tell us that, hey, I got diagnosed with hypertension and I didn't see any of these things before my doctor told me. And that is true, phenomenal. That is very true. If anybody is watching that says that, we agree. That's why we say it's a silent killer. We're only bringing these for the people who do not even see doctors. We just want to at least give them a hint that if you are not seeing your doctor and you're seeing this, you better run. So literally how to avoid hypertension is to monitor. And you can only monitor when you see your doctors, when you go to annual visits and demand to know. It's a standard practice. Every doctor's office you go, the first thing they do is they take your pressure and they weigh you. As if even if you go for a cold, they will weigh you and take your blood pressure. Yeah, because that seems to be attached to every disease state. That is how they start off in every office. You have to be weighed and your pressure will be known. So find out your blood pressure from the doctor's office. And then also, if you're already hypertensive, you have been told that you have high blood pressure. Also, the next thing you have to do is to buy the blood pressure monitor and make sure that you're also checking yourself frequently at home just to see how you're doing. Because when you're taking medications, you have to know what they are doing, right? And make sure that you are not also taking medication and still creeping up. At least you will have an idea how you're doing on your blood pressure. Now, for those who have not been diagnosed as having hypertension, as long as you are seeing your doctor once a year, if you want to buy a machine too, that is fine. But we don't want you to stay home and buy a machine and self-diagnose. Wait until the machine says you have high blood pressure before you go to see the doctor. No, that's not what we want you to do. We want you to actually be proactive at seeing your doctor first, because you don't just see the doctor for hypertension, you see them for other screenings such as colon cancer, breast cancer, all those things. And so hypertension just becomes a natural thing that they check every time you go. So see your doctor and monitor them to ensure that no sign sneaks up, because again, when you see those signs, you got that this is long time. You are just catching up with the sign now. And so that is what I think we want to leave people with.
Yeah, and I think we said this last week that if you are hypertensive and the doctor has put you on medication, it is your responsibility to also monitor yourself. That's why there is a need for you to invest in the monitor. And if you monitor and you feel like it's almost consistently high, then that's when you have to do something about it. You have to let your doctor know that I check it and it seems to be continuously going up. It means that the medication may not be at the level that is able to control the pressure. So either the doctor have to increase the dose or add another medication. I know some people may be on 3 different medications before their blood pressure is well controlled. So don't ignore the numbers. When you take it and it's high, do it. Last week we learned about how to take the correct numbers, how to monitor it yourself. Follow through. If it's high, don't ignore it. Do something about it. Mention it to your doctor. And also pay attention to the diet and exercise, because we learned that if you are picking the right foods and you are exercising, your chance of needing only one medication to control your blood pressure is very high. But if your diet is all over and you are not exercising, your lifestyle is such that you don't have any active activity, then you may end up with 3 or 4 medications, which become a little burdensome. So you don't want that taking medication becomes so burden. Then you have to balance your diet and do the right things by staying active and trying as much as possible to control it, so that you don't end up losing any of your organs, or we coming back and say you are gone too soon.
All right, all right, all right. And I think we have a few more comments here as we close. Um, Apostle says that I have stopped eating cheese because of the sodium, and I like to hear that. My goodness, the sodium content is a lot. And then also we have another question. Also, Brother Ben says, "How about the raw salt from Africa?" I like that question too. Everybody thinks that the raw stuff, untouched, is good, but brother, it's not good. It's still the sodium chloride. They may say that it's raw. Oh, nobody has processed it. They just took it from the shore and broke it up. This is natural. No, it is still salt. The salt that you want to eat is potassium salts. And again, sometimes I talk from experience. A doctor has told me before, increase your intake of potassium salt instead of the regular sodium salt. So if you see why most people's hypertension becomes uncontrollable, the first thing the doctors will tell them is stop eating salt. They tell them right there, stop eating salt. So if you want to prevent it, or if you want to control the thing, just start cutting salt right now. And sometimes salt may not just come like salt. It's the preservative called sodium. So if you are buying anything that has labels, see the sodium amount. On a day, you are required to take 2,300 milligrams of sodium. So if your diet in the morning has 700 milligrams, you're going to eat lunch and dinner. Do the math. And that is if for a normal person. If you have hypertension or you want to avoid hypertension, you have to even cut it down. And so you definitely have to watch salt. Sodium in particular, it's the number one thing that brings the water retention. It makes you big, and then it keeps the blood pressure up. And so that is that. And then the other, I think another nice comment is from another Ben on the live. Brother Ben, I'm watching my classmate. He also says that, thank you, Doc. Great presentation. Thank you so much for that comment also. And I think we have exhausted our slides today. So if we have any other last minute questions, I don't see any other last minute questions. We want to end it up here, but questions can still be put on the live chat or in the comment section wherever you are, and we will be able to see it, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok. We will be able to see it and answer them for you. And we're just talking based on what I have experienced just watching TikTok so soon. I mean, in a recent past, we may actually go on a conversational form of TikTok, discussion where people come on and ask questions, because I see a lot of people do it, and we may do that hopefully in another language that we also speak, so that other people can talk. But we want to appreciate and thank you all for joining us today. It's been fun, and I'm hoping that you learned something. Now, if you did, make sure you click the like. I have 5 thumbs up on the live, and I'm hoping this is basically mostly from um, Facebook, I think. If you are watching and you haven't given us any thumbs up, you are gypping us. Just make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like button, and make sure that more people will see it and they get help, because that's all we are about. With that being said, we'll end here.
Next week.
And next week, yeah, I think next week we said something. Next week, we're actually going to talk about some of the ways you can check your blood pressure at home. We will see if we can show you some, devices, some blood pressure monitors out there in the shops that you can purchase. Probably give you an idea how to check it and which ones to use and which ones to avoid. So make a date with us next week, and we'll have another great time together. And until then, we say, Beloved, we wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.